The anti-vaxxers clearly are the winners at this point, and I think it'll probably stay that way. They came out the best. They have the winning position.
All right, today we're going to be talking about this video from Scott Adams. He uploaded to his YouTube channel a couple days ago saying the anti-vaxxers win. So I'm going to be completely honest. When I first saw this video, I had no idea who this guy was. And I was like, man, I salute you, right? It takes balls to like actually post a video like that and admit you were wrong. Like when I saw this, I was like, man, you have a strong will. Like you have guts to stand up on your own feet, like stand tall and say, yes, I was fooled, right? Because most people won't do that. Most people, you know, I don't know if it's like an ego thing or kind of like how, or if it's because COVID kind of developed into like a cult following. But this guy, when I first saw this video, I was like, man, I respect that. That takes, you know, a strong will. Then I started doing some research on the guy and found some things that were a little iffy. You know, there's a bunch of people sharing his video on Twitter because he was like so like pro-vaccine and stuff like that. And then I found some questionable tweets he was making. So the first one says, let me zoom in here. If you are unvaccinated, you are in the middle of a deadly pandemic. If you are vaccinated, it's Wednesday, right? So obviously he's saying, you know, if you're unvaccinated, you're in danger, right? Basically repeating what the mainstream media was saying over and over and over again, because there's that classic thing that I'm not sure which part of the government, the U.S. government released this. I don't know if it's just like the White House or whatever, but there's this classic clip.
To the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. For the unvaccinated.
So you guys remember that, you know, the severe winter of death, right? And then of course your boy Elon Musk comes in. That turned out to be inaccurate. Right? Oh yeah, so it was the whitehouse.gov. So they said this, they released this statement as well. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. So obviously just fear-mongering to the max, right? So clearly Scott Adams fell for that, right? Fell for the big propaganda. Then he said some more. He said in this tweet, I'm the best predictor in the country and I don't see any way to be certain about the vaccinations, right? If you're not certain about it, why are you taking it? You can't be certain you made the right vaccination choice and also believe in science. That would be inconsistent. I believe in science. So, let me finish. 95% of you will disagree with me, insisting you made a rational decision. I know I didn't. Once you realize you didn't either, we can talk. So basically he's saying, if you didn't get the vaccine, there's no like scientific reasoning for you not to get it. Like there's no data backing you up for you not to get it. But it's like in reality, there's a bunch of data that backs you up for not to take it, right? And then he said the classic line, I believe in science. Science is not something you believe in. Science is not a religion. It's not a cult. Science is science. Either you know it or you don't know it, right? Either you agree with it or you don't agree with it. It's not I believe in it. It's not like some, you know, magical fairy tale, right? So clearly he's falling into that like cult mentality of thinking. So let's see what else he has. Note to the people who are bad at critical thinking, that's ironic. If we someday learn that getting the vax was a huge mistake, please don't tell me you knew all along. You are guessing, just like the rest of us. Someone will guess right. So no, you're wrong. Like no one's guessing, right? Because if you actually look at the data, right, and you actually do real critical thinking, it's not a guess not to take it. Not at all. Let's see what else he said. When a subset of the common people get one right entirely by luck, right? Again, he's like admitting he's wrong, but he doesn't want to admit you were right for the right reasons, right? He wants to say, no, you were right, but that was just a guess. You just got lucky. And I'm going to prove him wrong really soon. Entirely by luck, as we are seeing with the vaccination criticisms, they crown themselves as smarter than the experts, but actually that's a case of being stupid twice, right? So he's like doubling down right? So, like I said, when I first saw the video, I was like, oh my God, that's brave, you know? Brave and stunning, like the common line, right? But clearly, you know, he just doesn't want to admit he was wrong. The last one, the funniest part of all the pandemic is that our data was so bad. The only people who interpreted it incorrectly made good predictions. No, right? So he's saying that people, the people that didn't take the vaccine, claim that they're smarter than the experts. Okay, what experts? Which ones? Like the top doctor in Canada that was telling people, if you're sleeping with your partner, wear a mask. Did you follow that? When you're sleeping with your partner, did you wear a mask while having intercourse? Because if you did, I'm going to laugh in your face, right? So if an expert tells me that, yes, I'm smarter than that expert, because that expert's not smart, right? The Canada's top doctor said, if you're sleeping with somebody, wear a mask. That makes no logical sense at all. At all. But anyways, let's go break down the data that the anti-vaxxers, right, used. And he loves using the term anti-vaxxers. Like, people that didn't take this vaccine, they're not anti-vax, right? They're anti-lies, right? They're anti-coercion, right? When someone's forcing you to take something against your will, right? And there's a multi-billion-dollar ad campaign to push it and shove it down your throat, that should, if you're critically thinking, that should pop off some red flags in your head, right? You claim to be a critical thinker, but it doesn't really seem like it. So let's go to the actual data. So I love going back to this data. This is solid data to show the lies that started right from the beginning of all of this, right? So first of all, we all know Pfizer did their own trial, right? So conflict of interest number one, the merchant selling their product is doing the trial. Huge conflict of interest, right? If you are in the market to make billions of dollars and your sales depend on your trial, right? Your profits depend on your trial, that's a huge conflict of interest. Obviously. That's like me selling something and I'm doing my own trial, and in my trial I say, hey, my product's very good, make sure you buy it. Like, obviously it's a conflict of interest. But let's ignore that huge red flag. Let's go to the next part. Right? So like we all know, Pfizer did this trial. You know, the Pfizer trials, you know, safe and effective, right? They did this trial and they said, oh, the vaccine's, 90% plus effective, right? And they're shoving that down through the media that they also donated to, right? All the media outlets, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all the alphabets of the mainstream media, sponsored by Pfizer, like.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360.
Brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Okay, we know what's going on. But anyways, let's actually break down the math, because we all know politicians lie, media lies, big corporations lie. People like to lie in general for their own political gain and their own narrative. But you know what doesn't lie? Math. Math never lies. 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. Always. Math is a universal language. It does not lie. So let's look at the math and see the lies that Pfizer fed us. I'm going to say allegedly, so you can't sue me or anything. But anyways, so we all know Pfizer did a huge trial with 43,000 people. That's a good size. That's a nice good size, 40,000 people. So they broke up the trial in 2 groups, a vaccinated group and an unvaccinated group. And there's 21,000 people in each group, divided evenly, right? The same group size. So here's a breakdown of Pfizer's math that they did, right? And it comes with a visual. Also, here is the data source. I'm going to put this link in the description for you to check it out yourself and for you to do your own research, because you shouldn't blindly trust me. You should always do your own research. So let's check this out. So like I said, 21,000 each group. And it says here in the visual, after a few weeks, participants are tested for COVID. Another red flag they don't mention is they had testing officers picking and choosing who to test for COVID. It wasn't randomized selection. They didn't test everybody. they picked and choose who to test. So that's another red flag, but we're going to also ignore that red flag, right? 2 red flags so far, we're going to ignore it. So let's go down to the actual math. So in the vaccinated group, 8 people out of 21,000 people tested positive, okay? In the placebo group, unvaccinated, 86 people tested positive out of 21,000, right? So what they did in this visual here, you can see, here each dot represents 100 people. So here's the 40,000, you have a bunch of dots, that's 40,000 people. They broke it up into 2 groups, right? 20,000, 20,000, each dot is 100 people. Then they go to the analysis part, right? And you can see here, further data analysis, right? Further conclusion, they used relative risk reduction, meaning in their final calculation, they didn't include the entire 40,000 people. No, they only looked at 200 people, right? That's where the problem is. So in the visual here, you can see they looked at 1 dot over here, 100 people, and they zoomed in and they said, oh, 8 people out of this group of 100 tested positive in the vaccinated group. And then they went down here in the unvaccinated group, they looked at 1 dot and they zoomed in. 86 people here tested positive out of the group of 100. Wow, so it looks way worse. In the unvaccinated group, when you zoom in on the corner, oh my God, it looks like everyone's testing positive for COVID. And the vaccinated group, when you zoom in, it's like, oh, there's not that much, right? So what they did is they said, oh, our vaccine basically reduced 86 COVID cases down to 8. Wow, so we're 90% effective. Our vaccine's 90% effective, right? And they ignored the rest of the 40,000 people, and they did their math calculations with only a total of 200 people. That's where the issue is. That, in my opinion, is the fraud, allegedly, right? So they used relative risk reduction to get that 90% plus effective, right? So if you look at the actual math, right, and this is not, algebra or calculus 2, calculus 3, this is grade 3 math, very simple stuff, right? So if you look at the actual math and you break down 8 people out of 21,000, that's 0.0367%. Minuscule amount, very tiny percent. In the unvaccinated group, 86 people out of 21,000, that's still 0.3951%. Very small. What's the difference? Grade 3 math. You minus them. What's the difference? You minus them. Very simple. Comes out to be 0.35% effective. The vaccine was not even 1% effective, right? And this is not me. This is not my numbers. This is Pfizer's numbers, right? But this is just the math done correctly. And like I said, you can check out the data source there. The link is there. It's going to be in the description below. So the actual absolute risk reduction is 0.35%, not even 1% effective, right? That's the problem. And the FDA itself, the FDA says you're supposed to do absolute risk reduction and not relative risk reduction. So that's the problem.
And relative risk reduction is well known to be a misleading number, which is why the FDA recommends using absolute risk reduction instead. Which begs the question, how many people would have chosen to take the COVID-19 vaccines had they understood that they offered less than 1% benefit?
And that's where, the anti-vaxxers got their data from. They actually looked at the data. They didn't just, look at the TV and just sit there with the remote in their hand like, oh, wow, they said do that. Okay, I have to get the shot. It says 90% effective. I have to do my part, right? I got to do it. No, you don't just blindly trust people, especially big pharma corporations who have a track record of criminal history, taken to court multiple times, found guilty, brought in front of a judge and a jury, and the judge grabbed his gavel, hit it on the table, and he said, you're guilty. You have to pay X amount in fines. And you should know, Pfizer currently holds the United States record for the largest criminal charge in U.S. history at $2.3 billion, right? They hold the United States record. From the year 1776 to today, Pfizer has the largest criminal charge in U.S. history. They had to pay, I think it was like $2.3 billion. Like wild, right? And you want to put your health into that company? That's questionable, right? So back to Scott Adams, who claims, where's the tweet? Yeah, back to Scott Adams, who claims, you know, these anti-vaxxers, they just did a lucky guess. They got lucky. It's like, you know, they're playing roulette and they picked the right color. Like, no. They use critical thinking, actual critical thinking. Didn't just follow what the TV says, right? And also, a lot of people made the mental note and realized, hey, when someone's bribing you with like hamburgers and fries and saying, you like hamburgers? And they're literally talking to you like a little kid on TV.
Did you say free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? I want you to look at this and think about, if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination.
You like hamburgers, don't you? Yeah, get vaccinated. We'll give you a hamburger. Like that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag, guys. Come on. Or you get free lap dances at strip clubs if you get vaccinated and you show your Vax card at a strip club. Like, what's going on? Like, is that not setting alarms in your brain? Like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Or yeah, when they say the vaccine's for health, right? And then they bribe you with Krispy Kreme donuts. Like, here, show us your vaccine card for your health and safety. We'll give you a breaded, you know, sugar glazed donut that has a centimeter of sugar on it. Here, eat this for health and safety. That's a huge contradiction. Like,
a $100 savings bond in West Virginia, a $10,000 scholarship in Lancaster, California, free beer in New Jersey, donuts from Krispy Kreme, and a drink in Connecticut.
That's not right. But anyways, this is Scott Adams. So like I said, at first I was like, man, salute this guy, right? But then I realized he's doing like a little cop out, right? Because he was so pro-vax and he's saying, if you didn't take the vaccine, you just did a lucky guess. Like, there was no data to back it up. And I proved him wrong. There's the actual data, the actual trial, right? And then, you know, criminal history of a corporation, you know. Me personally, if someone has a huge, like, hey, I agree with, like, I believe in, like, second chances, right? Giving people second chances, absolutely. But when you have a track record, you know, like consistent track record, committing crimes, paying a fine, committing crimes, paying a fine, committing crimes, paying a fine, over and over, and then bribing doctors, got busted bribing doctors, and then you pay a fine, bribe more doctors again, you pay a fine. I'm not going to trust you, right? That's like, you know, you're looking for a babysitter to watch your kid. And then you have two options. Someone with a clean criminal history and someone with a history of like child pedophilia with like multiple counts of it. Like, why would you trust that guy to watch your kid? You're obviously going to trust the guy that doesn't have a criminal history, right? Like, common sense, right? But, you know, apparently common sense is rare these days. But yeah, this reminds me of that famous quote. It's easier to fool someone than to convince someone they've been fooled. Which is like so true. I see it all around me nowadays. And there's a bunch of people like still in the year 2023, right? Still people holding on to the COVID narrative and they do not want to let go. Like you'll still see people in their cars by themselves with a mask on in 2023, or like they'll be walking outside with a mask on in like the fresh open environment, fresh open air. Last time I went to a gym, there was one single girl by herself wearing a mask, and the whole gym was like nobody's wearing a mask, and like one person was holding onto it. And it's kind of like I'm divided on what causes that, right? I think in some cases it's like an ego thing, like, oh, I really dived into the whole COVID narrative. I can't admit I was wrong. I'm going all in no matter what. I'm gonna keep wearing my mask. I'm going to wear 2 masks. I'm going to keep putting on hand sanitizer. and let the alcohol soak into my skin. Right, I'm gonna keep wearing the masks. And then on the other hand, I feel like it's kind of like it developed into a religion. Like people really don't want to give up. And it's like no matter what data you show them, no matter what like actual like evidence you show them, like still they're like, no, I still believe. I still believe in the science. And again, it's like you don't believe in science. It's either you know science or you don't know science. Either you agree with it or you don't agree with it. It's not a belief. Science is not a religion. Oh, and I actually think I have a picture of someone driving in their car with a mask on. I took a picture through my rearview mirror. And then there's still people that put like a mask on in their profile picture. Like, come on, dude. Stop it. Stop. In your profile picture on social media, in your profile picture, like, come on. Get some help. And then also we have the Twitter files that came out, you know, released by Elon Musk and his like journalists, whatever, that exposed a Pfizer executive emailing Twitter and telling them to censor certain accounts because they were spreading information about the vaccine. When you're on the side of censorship, newsflash, you're on the wrong side, right? And censorship is the opposite of science. Science is about open debate. Like you bring your points to the table, he'll bring his points to the table, right? And you guys have an open discussion and you see who's correct, right? Open debate, open discussion. That's how we like evolve and grow better. This whole thing, like this whole narrative was like, you can't question anything. This is a science. You believe in it and nothing else. You can't ask questions. If you ask questions, you're censored. And then also in the Twitter files, the U.S. government was caught trying to censor like certain things about the vaccine information. I think it was like the White House that was emailing Twitter. And then there's stuff with like the FBI censoring stuff. And again, like all this censorship, that's not science. Like when you can't ask questions, that's propaganda, right? When someone says this is a science and you can't ask questions, that's not science, that's propaganda. The foundation of science is asking questions. Like Isaac Newton, he was sitting under his apple tree and the apple fell, like it came from the top, fell, hit him in the head. And he's like, why did that apple hit me in the head? Why did it drop? Right? He started with questions and that began his journey to discovering his theory of gravity, right? The foundation of science is asking questions. When you can't question it, that's not science. Back to Twitter, Elon Musk has been tweeting about, like he even tweeted at Scott Adams. So I feel like the media is like, right now the media is demonizing Elon Musk like as much as they can. They're saying, you know, he's a white supremacist, he's promoting hate speech, all the, you know, garbage buzzwords. But it's like, I feel like this is part of the reason why, right? He released the Twitter files, and then he's speaking out. He's saying, oh, I had major side effects from my second booster shot. Felt like I was dying for several days. Hopefully no permanent damage, but I don't know. And then he said here, and my cousin who is young in peak health had a serious case of myocarditis, had to go to the hospital. Like these are real things, right? Real stuff. These are potential side effects. And then this I guess like cartoonist, I'm not sure what it is. This one guy made this like meme about Scott Adams, and Scott Adams actually threatened to sue him over this. But I think it's a good summary, actually. I think it's a great summary of what really happened. So you have, you know, Dr. Fauci with his like hypnotizing clock and he's like, obey science. And you have Scott Adams with all his vaccinations saying, yes, I must obey science. And then later on, he literally says, you anti-vaxxers were right accidentally. You're still stupid. And it's like, come on, bro. Just take the L. Just take the L. Like, you messed up. Admit it. I feel like his video was like a half apology, half admitting, right? Because he didn't really clarify about the part of him, you know, just saying anti-vaxxers were just, you know, accidentally correct. And I also don't like that he keeps saying anti-vax. Like, these people are not anti-vax. I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti-lies, anti-coercion, right? Anti-being forced against my will, anti-being threatened, anti-censorship, right? I'm like, I'll be against something if I can't ask questions. Like, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge alarm, in my opinion. For example, here's another tweet from Scott. He said, if you compared the totally unknown long-term risk of vaccinations to the totally unknown risk of long COVID in the context of your totally unknown personal biological risk, you didn't do anything close to thinking, but I'll bet it felt exactly like you did. It fooled me too. So again, it's like he's sort of admitting he's wrong, but then he's like, I'm not going to give you, the full win here. Like, I was wrong, but you were guessing. Like, you made a gamble too. It's like, no, dude. Again, just take the L. You messed up. You got fooled. You got bamboozled. Just admit it. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, right? So that's why I'm still like 50-50. Like, he made the video, but I'm still 50-50 on it. Oh yeah, so this guy actually replied to his tweet about, you not doing any close to thinking. And this guy's like, this pretty much covers it. What else do you need to consider? The 5-step COVID vaccine risk/benefit analysis. Will it stop me from getting COVID? No. Will it stop me from spreading COVID? No. Has it been long-term safety tested on humans? Also no. Have there been any deaths and injuries caused to date? Yes, there has been, and there's more coming out now. Are the makers liable for any damage or injury caused? No. Analysis summary: high risk, low benefit. Any questions? It's literally that simple. It's literally that simple. Now, it is really funny though, because the whole COVID hysteria and like the COVID brainwashing in the mainstream media really got to people. I remember I was talking to this one girl who's a pharmacist, and she literally argued with me, and she said Pfizer was selling these vaccines at cost and making no profit. I was like, yo, girl, they got you good, huh? They got you good. You really think Pfizer's selling the vaccines at zero profit? Come on, dude. Come on. And we all know Pfizer came out with record profits. Like, they literally did it was like their best years in profits. So obviously funny stuff. And then I was talking to this other girl. She's a med student, and the topic of like vaccines came up, and like, natural immunity, and we're like talking back and forth. And then the COVID vaccines come up, and she's like, yeah, I got boosted. I got the 2 shots and I got boosted. And I was like, oh, like, do you like regret taking those shots? Because like you could have just got like, natural immunity. And we know like the vaccines don't stop the spread, and it doesn't stop hospitalizations or death, and you can still catch it no matter how many booster shots you take. And she's like, yeah, like I know that, but I still believe in the science. And like I heard that, and I was like, oh man. Oh man. That was like a huge red flag. Like, oh my God. It's like the data's out. We know it doesn't help you. It doesn't stop the spread or anything, but I still believe in the science. So at that point, it's like, it's a cult. It's a cult / a religion. Like, you just believe in it. No matter what, I have to do it. No reasoning behind it, no logic. You can't ask questions, throw that all out the window. I believe in it. So it's the year 2023. It's January 23 today. That's cool. So hopefully this goes down in history where people can kind of like wake up and be like, hey, you shouldn't blindly trust things. Always do your own research. Always ask questions. And if you're told you can't ask questions, that's alarming, right? So don't blindly trust those people that say you can't ask questions. Always ask questions. It's not a bad thing to ask questions. So keep that in mind. Stay true to the truth. Continue to think free. And thanks for watching another video. If you like these kind of videos, I'm going to try to do some more. Please try to share these videos. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment. Also comment any other like future ideas or topics you want me to cover. I'll definitely check those out. And yeah, pretty much it. See you guys.